Welcome, everybody, to the Retail Corner podcast. And we have one more episode for you guys today. We're very excited because today's topic is going to be the importance of supply chain for small retailers. And in order to talk about that, we have none other than Nick from Tejas. Nick is a senior VP of Global Strategic Partnership, and he has over 17 years in the retail industry, really helping SaaS-based solutions across the whole journey from the purchase to the fulfillment process. Nick, how are you doing today?
Hey, Carlos, I'm really good. And your good self?
I am doing great. How's the weather? How's the world on your side?
Busy as ever. So obviously based in London. Unpredictable weather, but there we go. And I will say my voice may go a little bit croaky because I've been suffering from a little bit of a sore throat the last 2 or 3 days, but I'll try my best.
Oh, no. Thank you so much for coming in and for talking to us today. And I know you guys at Tejas, you guys have a lot of experience when it comes to supply chain. I mean, you have your own product. It's a SaaS product, and you guys have really helped a lot of retailers, many different brands. I know one of your brands is Metallica. And literally, guys, the band Metallica, right? Of course, they're e-commerce and helping them with the fulfillment process and helping every single fan get the merchandise out there that they want. And I think that's so excited. I'm a huge fan of Metallica, and that's great how that went about. So do you guys get like free concert tickets, or do you guys go with them at any point, or is it all technology, all retail?
Well, it's a good mix, actually. So we do get offered complimentary tickets, not so much on the merchandising, but yeah, it's amazing. If I had £1 for every person who asked me that question, that I would be a very rich man. So, but yeah, so it has its benefits, and yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. And I think, talking into the subject of supply chain, right, I want to scale it back for a second. Because when we talk about small retailers and mid-sized retailers, right, I think mostly everybody nowadays, they're starting to go e-commerce first, right? Because it's cost effective, it's simple. You have, Shopify, you have Weebly, you have all these different platforms out there that you can stand up a website in a very short period of time for a single product or for multi-products, right? Whichever the case might be. But then as they start to grow, they start to want to do and have the brick and mortar presence, right? And obviously that's a complete different beast. And the synergy that you have to create between your e-commerce and your brick and mortar, that's really where supply chain within itself really takes off, right? So I think to start off, for those guys that are thinking to go brick and mortar, right? Those retailers that are saying, hey, my e-commerce is making me enough monetary income, right, in order for me to keep growing my brand and everything. Okay, can you break down supply chain for us, right, at its basics and the real core value that it has?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, really valid point, Carlos. There is this emerging trend that's going on at the moment that we're trying to digitalize online as well. So bringing in store the online experience. Now, there's a lot that's happening around omni-channel in general. So, some of the things that the digital retailers will be sort of coming against would be, how to navigate some of these challenges in 2023, right? So the e-commerce landscape is changing fast, and building that right shopping experience for your demanding customer can be quite complicated. And don't forget, at the moment there is a bit of a looming recession that's going on, and budgets are all restrained and so on. So supply chain is going to have such an important part going forward in getting in that omni-channel experience right for your customer as a retailer. Everybody sort of is driving really more towards getting the customer to the basket stage, or and getting that whole user experience right. But at the end of the day, the risk really lies on when the goods are sort of coming outside of any purchase that's been made, and in store, again, it's got to have that same sort of experience in terms of every customer is time poor, and you've got to bring those omni-channel activities together so they're a lot more joined up. So that whole customer experience side of it needs to be really tight and watertight in terms of getting that experience right. Now, with that comes in getting that whole customer journey from, as I said, purchase right through to delivery, which then opens up the whole sort of book of activities within supply chain. So, I'm happy to expand on that a bit later.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. And I think one thing, as you very well mentioned, right, it's all about the customer experience at all times, right? Because those are your key, right? That's the key to everything. But I think there's also an aspect to it when you actually put in a good supply chain methodology and a good supply chain process, you stand to save a lot of money, right? Because I think many retailers, they just want to fulfill the order, get it out there, and right, get it to the customer as quickly as possible, but there's so much things that they can do in order to make sure they get it with the right carrier that's going to be the most cost effective, in addition to getting it there more rapidly, right? And I think those are the things that maybe a lot of times the mid-sized retailer is missing, right? Or they're forgetting the amount of returns they're going to get from e-commerce, right? And how that's going to affect your overall your net sales. And so with that, what are you guys putting out there in the market? Because I think there's a lot of really good software out there, right, when it comes to supply chain. But it seems like you have to be at a certain level of revenue in order, A, to afford it, and then B, to really leverage it to its full extent, right? There isn't a lot of things out there to really help the mid-sized retailer have a very strong solution when it comes to supply chain, right? So are you guys, I mean, I know you guys service very large clients, but are you guys thinking of how to find a solution for the mid-size, for the small size retailer?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And we take that on board. Having sort of traded for over 20 years and having catered for enterprise retailers and brands. Don't forget, all of these big retailers were once small themselves. So we've created an order management software that is specifically set up for small, medium-sized retailers, emerging retailers. In fact, we're not capping even how small they are. And it's a really great out-of-the-box solution to making sure that all of that supply chain and order management is completely joined up and it's optimized. Because, like correctly what you touched on, the supply chain part, and I'm going to be repeating that word often. The reason being is that's the part also that has the least control for any retailer in terms of the data, the information, once it leaves those premises, right? So I'm talking about then, even if it leaves online, then you've got the aspect of potentially those goods being returned. But those goods can be returned offline, and that customer wants to be able to bring it back to the store. So, there's lots of parameters and the mechanics that can have an effect on that whole customer experience. So we've created this product called TOMS Lite. We call it TOMS Lite because T for Tejas and order management software. As I said, it's out of the box, specifically set up to give that real extra boost and efficiency for any small, mid-sized retailer wanting to trade online, but also join up anything within an omni-channel, and so on.
Okay, perfect. And I think something to highlight that I want to highlight out there for all of our listeners, right? If you guys are thinking that you need a supply chain software, right? That you really need to streamline your process other than to do the basic fulfillment that you do, or you're sending it to Amazon and Amazon's doing the fulfillment for you, right? You're ready to kind of take on that responsibility and also take on the savings when it comes to that, right? What are kind of like the key 4 steps, if you could, right, that they should do when analyzing the right software for them? Because I think a lot of folks don't know that a lot of companies, right, they will look at your amount of inventory, your transaction count, right? They'll do an overall analysis of your business in order to really cater the tool for you, right? So whenever they're deciding, hey, I'm ready to take on this project, right, what do they need to start getting ready in-house before starting to interview potential vendors and potential options?
Yeah, great question. So just to expand on that, I mean, digital commerce, and we call an internet year 9 weeks. It's evolving, ever so fast. As the technology evolves, so do the expectations of the customers. So every customer, don't forget, is just one click away from the competition. So you don't want to be losing that customer. And also, don't forget the market value and wallet share. So it is becoming more difficult and costly, more than ever, to recover that expectation if you lose that area. I think in terms of due diligence, you've got to look at the basics, right? You've got to understand, okay, that first of all, obviously in terms of the product, the demographic, the audience, the marketplaces and where it sits, and getting that professional advice. Yes, there are lots of OMS solutions out there, and there are warehouse management solutions out there. But you first of all got to understand, where is it that you need to optimize? What is it you're trying to achieve? You want to get your goods A to B as quickly as possible, but also in the most efficient way. So then it's all controlled, and if there are any returns, you're managing that as well. So understanding the whole operation, I think first of all, and that includes, where the couriers that you use, measuring the delivery impact, having some sort of a KPI internally as well. So you've got some methodology around, what that efficiency looks like. So, I would say is you start with a decent order management system, which will give you the basic tools to be able to, have everything joined up so you've got real-time information of activities. Secondly, with our product, with TOMS Lite, we pull in, we can plug into any platform, ERP, whether it's Magento, whether it's Shopify, and we can join everything up. So it's all about making sure that everything's speaking to each other. And then, as I say, just making sure that along that journey, you have that full visibility of activities and operations as your goods move forward. And it will evolve all the time. There's not a quick fix switch. It's about getting the basics right and then evolving and growing from that. We with our customers are constantly building new bolt-on products and solutions as they grow, because with us it's about growing and evolving. It's not, as I said, a quick fix. So I think start off with the basics, just understand the demographic of the audience, understand where the territories are, what marketplaces you want to be going to, what that will look like, what does success look like, and then look at the pitfalls that sit along with that. Speak to a consultancy or somebody who are experts in that one particular area. Don't, always try to think that there's going to be a magic out of the box that will cover everything. The different mechanics connected to within Omni-Channel, covering payments, covering usability, right across through to supply chain, which is what we were discussing at the moment, is, they are the actual core factors that have to be, it's paramount that they are absolutely joined up. So, getting that bit right, as I say, from the basics and then building out.
Nick, you mentioned all these great points, and I think one of them that really resonates with me, and I think with a lot of folks, right, that were in the leadership scale at the mid-sized retailers, right, is a lot of times you're looking for the right piece of software that is going to allow you to create the basics that you called out, right? That's going to allow you to create a platform that's very sustainable, but it's also something that you don't want to outgrow in a couple of years, right? Because budget is always a limitation, and you always want to put as much of your budget on repurchasing merchandise, right, to make more money rather than spending it in technology, right? So when we're doing this analysis, right, when we're trying to find the right partner and the right piece of software that's going to grow with us, as you very well mentioned, right, what do you think are some of the key things that executives out there should be really focusing on, right, or targeting on? Because most of these guys, right, they're great business people, right, but they don't have a lot of technology background. So a lot of times, a lot of these sales folks from different software technologies, right, they just get you in this spiral, never-ending story, right, and then you just try to go with whatever seems the best for you, right? But what things can they like chop down in paper and take, to the potential vendors and really use them as their outline to really dictate, hey, this is the right technology partner for me to be able to put in the right supply chain solution?
Yeah, another great question. So you would be surprised, or may not be surprised, the amount of times that I get asked, and these are retailers, and not necessarily mid-sized, even larger retailers, the question around, well, we've been growing at such a pace, we're in different marketplaces, we're in different countries and territories and so on, but the efficiency's gone down, right? So the problem is scalability. It's massive. Okay, so we try to make within Omni-Channel as future-proof as possible. Now that's easy said, and to answer your question, the three things that you must always be looking at in terms of any solution, really, once you've gone and set up within Omni-Channel or even pure play e-commerce only, is to look at, okay, so here's my plan at the moment. These are the countries I'm in. Obviously, I want to evolve. Every business needs to evolve and grow. What's going to happen going forward? So what is the scalability opportunity for me if I'm going to use your platform, your software, your solution, right? So number one. Number two, how cost effective is that going to be if we was to look at the future and say, okay, now I want to be the next 3 different countries within the next 3 months, and that means I've got to work with 3 different couriers. I've got to look at different sort of whole experience within e-commerce and the whole website. So the mechanics again start to change, right? So you're looking at scalability, you're looking at cost effective, and then the other thing is never 2 experiences are the same either. So how flexible is that in terms of the product, the solution, that you're considering, or the company you're considering in terms of working with. So our products are all based on 3 foundations, and they are, number 1, scalable, number 2, flexible, and number 3, cost effective. Okay, so the whole idea then is to, as I say, it's not about a quick fix, fixing something now and it's great, and then let me know if the light bulb goes out, we'll change the switch. It's about helping you grow your business, and it's, as I said, that will happen very, very quickly. People need to understand that e-commerce alone, you're opening out to the world. We're talking about omni-channel. Everything's got to be speaking to each other, and it's only going to get complicated because as consumers have more sort of buying experiences in terms of options, that whole technology will play a part, and so you've got to evolve with that, because if you don't, then your competition will, and then you'll be left behind. So it's absolutely paramount that you not just have somebody who can say, great, we can give you the best solution now. It's not about now, it's about how you're going to help me to evolve, right? What does that look like? And actually put scenarios in there. As I said, these are the countries as a retailer I want to be trading in. Okay, what is it? How are you going to adapt for me to be able to grow? That's really, really important.
Absolutely. And talking about evolution, right? You very, very well mentioned that so many challenges are coming, right? More and more markets, more and more channels to sell, right? More and more social media, more and more everything, right? Uh, in the upcoming future, what do you foresee as the next challenges, right? The next big challenges for retailers that they're going to have to embark on, right?
Yeah, I think again, it's in terms of challenges, they will be there. It's getting again the whole experience right as consumers have more choices in how and where they buy from. At the end of the day, they're not bothered about what's going on in terms of your back end and the mechanics that sit there. They want to have that perfect experience. Buy online, return in store. Buy from mobile, buy from catalog, whatever it is. Those various channels that they can buy from. The challenges for retailers is making sure, as I say, that the mechanics that sit behind that, all of that operation is fluent, is optimized, and is talking to each other. And for that to happen, you've got to have the right order management software system in place. You've got to be able to have data that's real time. You've got to be able to understand and change things very quickly. So that is going to be really one of the key challenges going forward. And merchants just need to make, as I said, going back to the scalability side, is to understand more about tomorrow as much as what's going on in the present time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Nick, thank you so much for your time and for all this very insightful information. I like to ask all of our guests, one last question at the end of the interview. And it's always, if you had one piece of advice, the most important from all your years of experience, ups and downs, to all of our listeners out there, right? What would be that one piece of advice?
If you're a retailer, and you're listening to this podcast, right? You are a brand. Everyone is a brand at the end of the day. And my definition of a brand is, so if you take this on board, the definition of a brand, according to me, is it's a roadmap in that it leads a customer to a desired place, right? So what does that mean? That means as a consumer, I'm not worried about where or how you'll show your brand, whether it's in store, or whether it's online, whether it's catalog, or whether it's through mobile. It doesn't matter. I want to have that same experience. So the two key areas that you must absolutely get right is the user experience and the customer experience, because that will uplift the customer lifecycle value. Now, if you're a retailer, you know all about the customer lifecycle value, okay, and the cost to serve. And you've got to have that KPI always on the increase and not going down, because that is your parameter. That's the line in which your customers will judge the experience that they're having with your brand or retailer. So getting that whole user experience and customer experience right is the bigger picture. If we get that bit right, so the mechanics that sit within that, as I said, are then looked at on an individual basis, and supply chain will always play that paramount part. You know, the goods are not converted until the consumer receives their goods. So even then, that journey is not complete, because then it can be returned. So all of these different things, you know, getting that UX and CX right, as I say, at a high level is really key.
Nick, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all the advice out there. And for everybody listening, guys, we're going to have Tejas information, and Nick and team, you know, they'll be able to help out at any point. And I think if you're looking at what you have today for your supply chain infrastructure, right? Maybe you don't want to change it. Maybe you just want to look at, hey, is it the most effective possible, right? Am I saving the most money possible, right? And I think Tejas, you know, they're great partners in order to be able to review that process with you, to analyze that process with you, and then take you through whatever changes you might need, right? You might not need to change your entire solution. You might need to change certain pieces to it. And Nick, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us from London, and you know, have a great time. Hope the weather gets better, you know.
Awesome. No, thanks very much, Carlos. Really enjoyed the conversation, and yeah, you know, thanks for mentioning a couple of things there. And as I said, we're happy to do a health check, just to have a look and evaluate, you know, your current operations at any point as well. So I thought I'd just plug that in as well. But yeah, awesome. Thanks very much, Carlos, for organizing this.
Pleasure to have you.
If you would like to be featured on our podcast, please email us at podcast@retailcorner.live or visit our website, retailcorner.live. Looking forward to having you as our guest on our podcast, and thank you so much for listening.